We have a Fox News alert. Donald Trump says on Truth Social that he's been indicted. Quote, "The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted, seemingly over the boxes hoax, even though Joe Biden has 1,850 boxes at the University of Delaware, additional boxes in Chinatown, D.C., with even more boxes at the University of Pennsylvania, and documents strewn all over his garage floor where he parks his Corvette, and which is secured by only a garage door that is paper thin and open much of the time." Now, Fox News has not confirmed this, but we are just reporting on what Donald Trump just posted on Truth Social. Let's bring in Charlie Hurt, Fox News contributor. So, Charlie, we were hearing rumors that this was going to happen. The president, former, calls it the boxes hoax. What does this tell you on the same day we're learning that the Bidens took $10 million in bribes, supposedly, from Ukraine?
I think it's starting to get obvious what's going on here. The fact that that you have the two, this is no coincidence. I think it's clearly designed to, you actually had questions for some of the first questions we've seen of Joe Biden about the evidence that's coming out in Congress right now about deep and widespread corruption. This is not rumors. This is not smoke. This is actual evidence of it. He's been asked about it for the first time. So you see this drop on the exact same day. I think that the two are very related. I think that I think that especially when you step back and you consider that the charges that they're leveling against President Trump are the exact same charges that could be levied against Joe Biden himself and a host of other Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, as well as other Republicans. And the fact that he is the only one being charged is evidence that they're terrified of him, and they realize that if he gets the Republican nomination, he will very likely beat Joe Biden or whoever it is the Democrats put up. They are terrified. That's what that tells you.
And we haven't seen the indictment. Fox News has not even confirmed this. We're just reporting what the former president has said. But if you square up the documents that Donald Trump had, that's debatable whether or not he was even allowed to have them because he's a former president. He has classification, declassification authority. That's a negotiation he was having. That's under the Presidential Records Act. That's not a criminal situation. Joe Biden had classified documents from when he was a senator, from when he was vice president. He has no authority to have those documents. He had them for decades in about 5 different locations. It is, I can't use that word. It is pretty aggressive to go after your political opponent on something you're probably 5 times more guilty of.
And of course, it would not be the first time a sitting administration went after Donald Trump, their political opponent, at the height of an election. It's exactly what happened in 2016. And so where did Joe Biden get this? He got that from the last Democratic administration. And you're exactly right about the boxes and the documents. At worst, what we have here is a constitutional debate about what are presidential records and how are they kept. And his main opponent in terms of the debate about that is the National Archives, and a part of the executive branch. This is a perfectly reasonable discussion to be having. But you're exactly right. Of course, as vice president or as a United States senator, there is no question about whether or not Joe Biden had correct access to those classified documents that he took with him. And again, let's not forget, there's no question that if you take millions of dollars from the country of Ukraine and from China in exchange for American policy, then there's absolutely no question whatsoever, but you should go to jail and your family members should go to jail. I think that Joe Biden is desperate to run again. We're all wondering, why is he running again? He can't stand up. He can't complete sentences. He's running because he's afraid of going to jail.
Yeah, he's just fallen. He's been accused of taking bribes from Ukraine, China, and now he's going to arrest his political opponent right before the election year. I don't know about this. This is not smell right. Charlie Hurt, thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.